He has scored big goals in every single series so far. Tonight, no exception. He gets one in Game 1. You saw it just before the break. Let's hear from Jeff O'Neill in Detroit.
We just try to grind it out for wins, and it's worked so far. So we just try to keep it simple and get pucks to the net, and, we've been pretty good so far.
Jeff, can you just describe that last play, how you saw it developing and what you saw?
Well, I think Olsen had the puck behind the net, and I just tried to shut down the wall, and luckily it scored it free, and I tried to hit Sammy Kapanen and go in the net, and I got the puck back, and I think when you see a guy standing in front of the net with as many points as Ronnie Francis does, you pretty much got to pass it to him.
Jeff, how fortunate did you guys feel after all the penalties in the first two periods to get that late goal and to go in 2-2?
Well, I think that was big. I mean, to go into the dressing room tied 2-2 after the second was obviously better than down 2-1. So, we tried to ride the momentum a bit, and we kept it close in the third, and scored a big goal in OT.
Other questions here, Jeff, as well?
The breakaway, Aaron makes the pass. Did you guys know how much it meant to him coming back into this building to make a play like that sets you up in position to score there?
Yeah, it was great for Aaron. He's been a key part of our hockey team since the playoffs started, and everybody knows he wants to do well. It's a difficult situation when you've spent a lot of time and had a lot of success with an organization. I know he has a lot of close friends over there, and for him to have a big game tonight was big for him. We're all we're all happy for him.
What was the best thing about tonight for you?
Probably winning the game. I think we're all excited. We got a lot of young guys that are in the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time. We're very excited, and to get the first win was good. But we know we're playing against a great hockey team, so we know they're. I read a quote in the paper that nothing really phases that team, so we know we're in for a big battle.
More questions for Jeff? One final one in the back.
Back here, Jeff. Were you surprised to see that puck slide in the way it was, the way the ice was tonight, and also to see him go kind of head first, spin around on you on that move?
Do you mean on my goal? Yeah, it was a shot. I just tried to go 5-hole, and I tried to get an extra whack in there, and it's a good feeling when you see the puck cross the goal line. Thank you.
We don't always ask the best questions. What was the highlight of the night for you? Yes, the victory. Very obvious. Let's send it back to Gordon Miller, Bob McKenzie, and Pierre Maguire live in Detroit with more.
No shortage of dramatic moments in the hockey game. Ron Francis becomes the third oldest man to score an overtime goal in the Stanley Cup Final. That's pretty significant. Whenever we're talking about the old guys that Detroit had. But Pierre, one of the keys to this hockey game was the play of a couple of young guys that didn't get much attention going into the playoffs, and that's Joseph Vasicek and Peter Svoboda. Well, if you don't know them before, you should know them now.
And you really should remember them from the Toronto series because they helped contribute to the game-winning goal and the series-winning goal against the Toronto Maple Leafs. But the big presence in their game, their ability to dominate with the puck down low. And they do an outstanding job with it down low. That's Brendan Shanahan in a situation, working hard, down low, driving hard, and trying to create a chance for himself. Look at how they're wearing out down low all the Detroit Red Wing players. Create a chance, hard on it, drive to the net. Now, puck's going to end up coming out of the zone, and if you're a Detroit Red Wing fan, you're happy about that. But you watch it, what I want you to watch these three players. Very slow heading off the ice because they're worn out. Aaron Ward does a great job going back, getting the puck, creating a transition opportunity. He recognizes a line change about to be made, and he says, we got one coming too. O'Neill's off the bench, onside clearly, driving through. Good gap because Ajeli not going outside, so Danino has to respect him. In comes O'Neill, and the finish is made. It's just an outstanding job, and it all comes down to those young guys early on in that sequence doing a great job dominating the Detroit Red Wing players and leading them into a bad line change.
Pierre, I had the opportunity to talk to Jim Rutherford, the general manager for the Carolina Hurricanes today, and I was wondering about how all these youngsters, guys like Vasicek, guys like Svoboda, how would they react to the jitters of playing in a Stanley Cup final? And he said, it's really funny. They're not that nervous. A guy like Svoboda just came up from the minors late in the season. Jim Rutherford said it's almost as if he expects this is the way it is every year. And also, remember, we saw Vasicek and Svoboda play for the Czech Republic. at the World Junior Championship in Skellefteå, Sweden a couple of years ago. These guys are used to pressure hockey, they're used to big game hockey, and they seem completely unfazed by playing the first game at Joe Louis Arena, the first game against the Detroit Red Wings. They look like composed veterans out there.
Yeah, either they're used to it or they had no idea, in which case ignorance is bliss. There's someone else we should talk about, and Bob, you actually talked about two guys before the game that might make a difference, Brett Hedican and Sean Hill, two defensemen for the Carolina Hurricanes who weren't with the team at the start of the year. And Hedican's speed was in evidence at this hockey game, but so too was Sean Hill, and we've seen this before from him.
What a huge factor Sean Hill has been for the Carolina Hurricanes all the way through the postseason. The goal that he scored in tonight's game really was an important one. The Carolina Hurricanes were down 1-0, and it was Hill's goal that got them back in the hockey game. So Hill's doing a great job with a 5-on-3 man advantage against the Detroit Red Wings. Now that happened earlier in the playoffs. If you remember back to when the Montreal Canadiens had the Carolina Hurricanes seemingly on the ropes, Game 4, up 3-0, but a two-man advantage, the Michel Therrien meltdown, and with the two-man advantage, who scores a similar goal to the one that was scored in the first goal for Carolina tonight? But Sean Hill. He's got a big, heavy shot from the point, and Pierre Maguire, I know that the Carolina Hurricanes believe it was one of the turning points of their season when they got Sean Hill back from the St. Louis Blues.
And everybody in St. Louis is saying, Bob, hey, what happened to us, Sean? We really wanted you to step up this way in St. Louis. But you have to give Sean Hill a lot of credit. He's persevered over a long period of time, almost had his career ended because of a devastating facial injury, but he's bounced back and he really is comfortable. Married a local girl in Raleigh, loves the lifestyle down there, loves the coaching staff, and is very comfortable with his teammates.
You got to be honest, the Carolina Hurricanes are liking the lifestyle here in Detroit. They took all the abuse, all the Hicksville and Hockeytown and all that. Well, they can now stay here in Detroit up 1-0 in the series.
They go on to win the Cup. They could go from Hockeytown to Hockeytown. Ronnie Franchise in his 20th season in the National Hockey League. He gets the game-winning goal tonight. Brian Ingram got a chance to talk to him following the contest.
Ronnie Francis, you guys go into overtime again. I mean, is 60 minutes not enough in these playoffs for you guys, or what?
I don't know. I think we're just so used to it. I think we had 27 in a regular season and now 7 in the overtime. So we're putting in a lot of extra work, but it's paying dividends for us.
It sure is. We're going to take a look at the goal, the winning goal that you scored. Walk us through it and tell us what was going on out there.
Well, the puck came out front. It bounced right back to Jeff O'Neill, and I was just trying to get to the front. He made a great pass, and I was able to flip it up over top of Hasek's pad and into the net.
How important was the offense for you guys to score goals against Detroit? I know you've played a great defensive series, or a couple of series already, great defensively, but scoring on that 5-on-3 must have been big for you guys.
Well, I think anytime you get goals, it gives you some confidence, and everybody talks about their offense, but they've got a great defense over there too, and play a tight system, so they don't give you much. So fortunately for us, we were able to find a way to win a hockey game and get the first one under our belt.
I want to know the real story here. You guys have been playing the underdog role an awful lot. Now you're saying you really are the underdog. Do you feel it?
Well, I mean, that's really up for you guys in the media to determine. From our standpoint, we said all along we believe in ourselves, we believe in each other, and we believe in our ability to go out there and win hockey games. That's what we're trying to do.
Congratulations. Did a great job tonight.
Thank you very much, Brian.
So many key cogs in the Hurricanes machine. Once upon a time, Aaron Ward was well down the Red Wings depth chart. Now he's a vital member of the Canes, 16-plus minutes tonight, and he spoke with our Gordon Miller.
Aaron, I'm not sure what you expected coming back here to play in the Stanley Cup Final, but it couldn't have been anything like this.
This isn't what I'd figure out as the storyline for this game, but we're happy. We'll take it.
How badly did you feel and your team feel after the first power play goal by Fedorov? Were you concerned at that point, or?
Well, you're concerned. We're aware of the fact that Holmstrom parks himself in front of the net. He's the guy that as soon as you engage him has a tendency to fall towards the goalie, and exactly it. We fell in. We prepared for that, and it just failed us. I was actually the culprit of it. Having played with him so long, I should be aware of the fact he's going to do that, but it bit us, but didn't kill us.
Jeff O'Neill's goal in the second period that you set up was obviously enormous.
It was, well, I think just timing-wise, you're going into a period, you're going to come out in a third down 2-1 to a team as potent as they are, where it kind of changes the mentality and the psyche of the game. When, you get 150 seconds in, it causes the other locker room possibly to think about the fact that we're actually in the game. And, give him a chance, he's going to put it in there.
What about the penalty at the end of the third period? That had to be tough.
That's tough. It's a sign of a fair team. You got guys like Ronnie and Roddy that basically talk us through it. It's the end of the game. You realize what's on the line right now, and the worst thing you can do is get caught up in emotion, get upset with the referees, or get upset with a situation. Just go out, kill the penalty, move past it, and if it happens that we don't do it, then you got to move on. But maintaining our composure in that situation was key for us right now. 7-1
in overtime. Any explanation for that?
I don't know. I don't want to make a comment because it's the superstition end of it. Yeah. You just deal with it and take it as it comes.
Finally, Aaron, let me ask you this. I think the Red Wings said all the right things going into this game, but a lot of people outside were talking about what little chance Carolina had, that this had sweep written all over it. There was such a disparity. How did you guys approach it, and how significant is this victory in light of that?
You approach it to the fact that we're both conference champions, and we both traveled the same road basically to get here, and the game gets played on the ice. Those in the media or whatever, prognosticators, the experts, they don't end up playing the game. The game's played on the ice, and we realize that, and just we're a team that tries to establish that comfort level where you get in a 0-0, 1-1 game, as you saw tonight, and maybe put one in luckily or unluckily. You know, just however it comes, we'll take it, and that's how we thought about it. All those people who said that there's no chance, that's good. That's great for us because maybe it'll sink into the other locker room.
Aaron, thanks so much for talking to us, and congratulations on another overtime win.
Thanks for having me.
I tell you, Carolina's an easy team to cheer for. They handle themselves with a great deal of composure and class. By no means is Detroit done, though. We remember what happened against Vancouver. We remember what happened against Colorado. Our coverage of the Stanley Cup Finals in game number 1 will continue. We have to take a short break with plenty more reaction from the Joe Louis Arena. It was a howitzer from the point. John Hill tied the hockey game up on the power play, and Carolina goes on to win it.
Welcome back to SportsCentre as we continue our coverage of Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Carolina beating Detroit 3-2 in overtime. Could have gone a different way. Very late in regulation, Eric Cole takes a penalty. Questionable, Carolina Hurricane fans will say, but they killed it off and then won it in OT. Eric Cole could have been the GOAT. He is not. He is with our David Amber.
Eric, 2 1-goal deficits. How does this team continue to amaze everyone?
Well, they just, we stick to the game plan the whole way through, and it's 20 minutes at a time for us, and nothing ever really changes in here.
What is it about overtime now? 7-1 in overtime.
I think it's all the practice we had in the regular season or something. It must be, can't really explain it, but guys step up and score big goals for our team, and just show how much character we have in this room.
As one of the young guys, how incredible an experience was it stepping out there on the ice tonight?
Actually, I could have done without all the little show there before and just get right to it. But obviously, this is an exciting time, and I'm enjoying it.
Talk about going up against this team, Detroit. Did they show you anything different out there on the ice than you expected?
No, I think our coaching staff did a great job of breaking down video and just showing us tendencies and also obviously the systems. And so I think that said, it was just up to us to go out and execute, and we're fortunate enough to pull out a win.
Eric, 6 straight road wins. Is your style of play better suited on the road?
I think pretty much all the teams in the playoffs just keep it a lot more simpler on the road, and you're not trying to fit in that pass that you might try to at home, and it's just it's just an easier game. You just play a much simpler game.
Finally, do you think you've sort of set the tone now for the rest of this series? You've opened up eyes. You've obviously made believers, at least out of the Red Wings.
Well, obviously it was a hard-fought game, and we certainly expect them to come out twice as hard next time, and obviously we're going to have to try and match that.
Well, congratulations on a hard-fought win. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks.
Now, if the Red Wings do come back to win the Stanley Cup, you can bet the endorsement offers will come pouring in. Geritol, Fixodent, Viagra. Not only will the Wings go down as one of the most talented lineups in Stanley Cup history, but also the oldest. Rod Smith has more in our Midas numbers.
The very talented and very old Detroit Red Wings may be headed for the record books. If they beat Carolina in the Stanley Cup Final, they will surpass the 1967 Toronto Maple Leafs as the oldest team to win the playoff championship. The Leafs' average age was 31.6 when they won the last cup of the original 6 era. The Red Wings' average age is 32.5, almost a year higher than those Leafs of long ago. Led by the NHL's oldest player, 41-year-old Igor Larionov. The star-studded Red Wings have 8 players 35 or older. Leafs GM Punch Imlach stitched together a lineup that included 42-year-old goalie Johnny Bower. There's much talk about 8 members of the Red Wings being destined for the Hall of Fame. 10 members of the 67 Leafs are in the Hall. 39-year-old Ron Francis is the only Carolina player headed for the Hall of Fame, and along with Arthur Zerbe, one of 2 Canes 35 or older. The Canes' average age is 29.3, 3 full years lower than Detroit's average. While the bulk of the Red Wing roster is made up of players 35 and older, the Carolina roster is filled largely with players in the 25 and older age group.
If they lose, they're old. If they win, the Detroit Red Wings are experienced. Clearly, they can come back from this, but we got a series now. Let's head back to Detroit. Here's Gord, Bob, and Pierre.
It's an earthquake, is what you felt in Detroit in game number 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. It was a hurricane, that's right. And you know what? Actually, the National Hurricane Center in, in Florida somewhere, announced that it's the start of hurricane season officially on the day of game 1. Well, guess what? It was the start of the hurricane season. Pierre, is it a case of Carolina simply opening people's eyes? Because if that is the case, how does that happen this late in the playoffs?
Well, I think Carolina deserves a lot of credit for it, but also I think you have to look at the fact that this was a first game feeling out process. Detroit definitely didn't play their best game. Clearly their power play wasn't sharp, going 1 for 7. Clearly they took bad penalties. Anytime you see Igor Larionov take 2 penalties in one game, that tells you that there was a lack of focus going into the game for the Detroit Red Wings. But I think the biggest thing of all, if you're evaluating this game, you can't panic if you're a fan of the Red Wings, and you can't go into all kinds of positive hysteria if you're a fan of the Hurricanes, because this Detroit Red Wing team will come back. They'll make adjustments. Ask the Vancouver Canucks, ask the St. Louis Blues, and ask the Colorado Avalanche. All those teams face a Detroit Red Wing team that at certain points in those series were down and out and almost buried. But they did make adjustments and did come back and look for that to continue in this series as well.
The Detroit Red Wings started off well enough. They did what they were supposed to do, and that is get some traffic at Archer Zerbe, and that's how the first goal was scored. Sergei Fedorov was able to score that first goal because Thomas Holmstrom does what he does best, and he got his backside roll right up on top of Archer Zerbe. Zerbe comes out to cut down the angle. Holmstrom backs into it. Was it goaltender interference? The Carolina Hurricanes thought so, but upon close review, you can see that Aaron Ward was shoving Holmstrom in the direction of Archer Zerbe. Having said that, both teams were told before this series began by the supervisor officials, Andy Van Hellemond, to watch for the goaltender interference and to have it called closely. There's no question the Detroit Red Wings, as part of their success in this series, if they're going to have any, it includes getting a lot of traffic at the Carolina net, because Archer Zerbe is not a very big goaltender.
You know what, there's another thing to look at, too. Most people expected, Bob and Gord, that the Carolina Hurricanes would dominate in the face-off circle. If you're a Red Wing fan, that didn't happen. 55% of the face-offs were won by the Detroit Red Wings, only 45 by the Carolina Hurricanes. That's not a positive sign for Hurricanes, and it's something that the Detroit Red Wings can build off of. But one thing that has to be made clear, Paul Maurice and his staff clearly have this team focused, and Ron Francis and Rod Brindamore have got to be able to continue the leadership role that they have in the dressing room.
Something I think about is the fact that you may recall, remember in January and February, Carolina had 9 straight ties at home and played in a league-high 27 regular season overtime games. And Paul Maurice said in most of those games, it was so close late in the game, and they had to have the points. They're used to playing big game overtimes already. And now, their 7-1 record in overtime in the playoffs starts to smell a lot like the Montreal Canadiens circa
10-1 that year.
1993.
We shall see. You know what? If this is any indication of how the series is going or will go, it could turn out to be a great one. The Detroit Red Wings, they had their opportunities in this hockey game. It was Sergei Fedorov who opened up the scoring for them. But ultimately, in the end, it was Carolina who got the last goal in this hockey game as they take a 1-0 lead in this best-of-7 series. More from Detroit in a moment.
Time now for the Husqvarna Honor Roll.
Danger, the keeper hopping around on his line. It hasn't dropped kindly yet. It has now. Belgium score.
Second period, and Detroit on the attack here. Scott here. Ground ball. Diving for his third. The throw to first. Wow, what a play by Dave Bird. Long up ice, onside. O'Neill in. Shot. Hasek. Score!
Interception good for the Japanese. Opportunity Inamoto. Can he finish? He certainly can. Sensational.
And Estes throws his first pitch of the night. And it's hit in the air, left field. Cedeno dives and makes the catch. O'Neill is up there and takes over. Gets it up from the goal. To the net check. They score! Ron Francis in front of the net.
One of those plays will be our highlight of the night in preparation for Saturday's heavyweight pelt. Mike Tyson held an open workout on Tuesday. The usually volatile Tyson has refrained from talking to the media, canceling a scheduled news conference for tomorrow afternoon. However, in a written statement released on Monday, Tyson promised he'd put a world of hurt on Mr. Lewis.
I've been with him 9 years, brother. 9 years. This is the best shape he ever been in. He told me, he said, Stacy, you know, I quit fighting 10 years ago, but I want to fight again. I can see in his eyes, he look like a shark. His pupils, everything. He's vicious. Oh, this man hit hard. Ooh, he hit hard and hit fast. Ooh, he can take a shot, too. He's a born fighter.
And he's crazy. Ooh. And to see this fight on Saturday night, all you have to do is contact your local pay-per-view provider. Ahead on SportsCentre, it is the best play in the world of sports. It is our highlight of the night. Plus, we'll be Crush and Live.
SportsCentre, brought to you by Tim Hortons Strawberry Tarts, made with fresh strawberries. And by Audi. In technology, performance, and design, our goal remains constant. Never follow.
It is a dilly. Here is the best play in the world of sports. It is our Dairy Queen highlight of the night. For this one, we're going to take you back to where else but Joe Louis Arena, game number 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. So much for a blowout, so much for a sweep. Ronnie Francis gets the goal in overtime. Jeff O'Neill makes the play, and the Carolina Hurricanes win game number 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. What a start. Can't wait for game 2.
Dutch, you know I've always dreamed of being a VJ. Rick the Temp is my idol. So I'm going to throw to my first video. We'll be doing these throughout. Could still happen. Throughout the finals. This is Crush with Liv.
And I wish I could help them. So I will break the chain of rumors that ruin all. I never know what love is. I never know what love is now. And I need something to believe in. And I got something to believe in now. Love is, I wanna know what love is now. I need something to believe in, I got something to believe in now.